We begin today's recording by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we are on. I am on Burrawang land. Where are you, Breezer?
I am on the land of the Djajarurrung people.
We pay our respects to the elders past and present and extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who are tuning in today.
And wherever you're listening to the potty today, make sure you know whose land you're on. Join us each week for some booze-free banter about life without booze.
If you're entertaining cutting back your booze by a day, a week, a month, or for the rest of your life, we would love for you to tune in.
Buckle up and come along for a ride that may just change your life. If any of today's conversations have been triggering, please reach out to your local support centre in Australia. That is Lifeline 131114. Crack a bottle, shall we, Meso?
Oh, let's crack. Ooh,
I think we're twinning today.
Thirsty fresh.
We are both on the Altina non-alc wine finger lime Sauvignon Blanc.
I've been really necking it.
Been really tucking into it, haven't you, Meso?
Really good. I'm on holidays, baby, so I'm really getting stuck in.
You're loving life. So this is part of their Liberate collection. They also have Kakadu Plum Rosé, which we love, and the Pepperberry Shiraz, which we also love. We love this range. We love Altina, don't we, Meso?
We absolutely do, and we love it so much even more. They've been so generous and given us discount code of
BFB
15.
Yes.
Get you 15% off at...
Yes, if you go to www.altinadrinks.com, we'll leave the notes in the show notes. You'll be able to get 15% off the entire range of Altina. We love them. Even though it's the end of dry July, keep going hard on the non-alcs, peeps.
They won't let you down. Talking about... oh, actually, here we go. We love you, Altina.
Thanks, Altina.
I was just about to bounce in with our other non-alc. I got real busy. I got too carried away because we were talking about Liberate, how they've got the Liberate connection. And I was thinking about our guest that we just had on, talking about how liberated he felt and freeing he felt being off the booze. Guess who we've just had on, listeners? You're not going to believe it. We had our favourite spaceman. He's a founder, an astrophysicist, data scientist, medical engineer. He's all over the tally. He was one of our favourite bachelors ever. And he is the founder of Pash, which is our new favourite non-alcoholic beer. It is Dr. Matt Agnew. Welcome to the house. He's coming on in a second.
How we didn't do today? We didn't do our Breezer Meso.
Oh, should we do it now?
The punches. Nah, we'll do a special ep where we don't do that.
We just rolled straight in.
You were too excited, did you?
I was way too excited. I was real up and about. With that chat we just had. How good was that?
Oh, my gosh.
I'm
like crushing on him hard. He was the whole package, Meso, the whole package. I mean, he's got an amazing sobriety story. He has obviously just launched a non-alc beer, Pash, which we will get into during the potty. And he's just fresh and he's just so nice. And his voice was so nice on his microphone.
He was. And he's got a cute dog named Pluto.
Oh, and he's got a cute dog as well. I mean, tickety boom.
We just can't wait for you to listen to this chat. So should we just bring him on in?
Let's get amongst it with Matt.
A big, warm, booze-free Bants buddies. Welcome to Dr. Matt Agnew. Welcome to the podcast, Matt.
Thank you. Very excited to be here.
We are so happy to have you on today. So,
well, Matt, we throw all our guests into the deep end.
Yep.
There's no exception here. So we're going to kick things off with either a shame story or a confession session. You take your pick. Shame story is a bit more, I suppose, dark. Confession session can be whatever you want, but something that you've done when you've been sozzled.
Confession session. It's time to play. Where you tell us what you're ashamed.
This one, I've got two actually, and my friends find both of these stories wildly amusing, so I think they're probably entertaining to share.
Yeah.
And they both involve the shower.
Look out. Buckle up, peeps.
So I'm not going to go into graphic detail, just warning people now, that's not on the horizon. But yeah, look, so I'd had a night out. This would be back in my mid-20s, I imagine. And had, enjoyed myself, had given it a bit of a nudge, pushed the boat out, and had got home. And as we are as we do, I was hungry. I needed something to eat, and I hadn't had my end of night kebab. So I thought, right, what have I got in the fridge or freezer? And I found a frozen pizza. Thought, you beauty, this will be great. I think it was a Papa Giuseppe's or something like that. So fire up the oven, pop it in. And I think, I'll just watch some telly while I wait. So lay down on the couch. You can see where this is going. Out like a light. Wake up about 6 hours later. And I'm like, oh, right, I should probably go to bed. And then I have this moment of clarity that, shit, I'll put a pizza in the oven. So I go check it out. And, of course, as you'd expect, it is an absolute pitch black disc of a pizza. So I get it out and I'm like, right, what am I going to do here? It's probably 200 degrees Celsius and it's not losing heat quickly. So I run it under the faucet and it doesn't, I mean, steam's going everywhere and it doesn't really cool down. It's still really, really hot. And so in my slightly, I've recovered a little bit, but still slightly inebriated state, I have the brilliant idea that, the shower will work really well for this. So I go in, pop it in the shower, turn on the shower for a good minute, and I'm like, sweet, it's done, solve the pizza issue, throw it in the bin, go to bed. Amusingly, my brother had to get up that morning for a marathon, and so he got up about 10 minutes after I'd gone to bed. And obviously saw all this water in the shower. I was like, what is going on here? Who's had a shower before 6 a.m.? Or is the night? Anyway, so he was baffled about it, and I had to confess to him the next morning, or when he got back from the marathon, that it was just me cooling off a pizza.
Did any pineapple pieces survive?
The pizza had to snap up and put it in the bin. I was trying to bury it. I was living at home still at the time, and so I had to bury the evidence. I thought, I don't want anyone to find this pizza because there'll be a series. It would be a line of inquiry that I wasn't comfortable facing. The other one's a little more shameful, I guess, which is, again, I come home, had a few drinks, more than a few, and there was this, it went on for about a year where when I came home a bit sozzled, I was obsessed with having a shower. I needed to have a shower. It was my way to cleanse my sins before I went to bed. And so I used to have a shower, and sometimes, you can be a bit tired after a night out. So I'd sometimes sit down just to get comfortable.
Oh, no.
And this happened probably twice, where I'd sat down and obviously nodded off. And I haven't got the smallest buttocks. And so they were comfortably covering the drain. And obviously without, mental clarity and blocking the drain, the shower flooded, and outside the bathroom door was a carpeted hallway. So woke up, came to, got out of the shower. In the bathroom, it was okay because there was a drain. I thought, oh, yeah, sweet. It's all clear. Open the door, carpet's saturated. I'm like, oh, gee, what am I going to do here? And then, of course, I had another brilliant moment of clarity where I thought, again, I don't want to face the music, so I'll try and clean this up before the folks wake up. And so I thought, I'll get a hairdryer. I didn't own one, so I had to go upstairs to my parents' bathroom, and go in and get a hairdryer out. And they've heard me clanking around in the bathroom and have come out and said, what the fuck are you doing? And I kind of had to confess that I was looking for a hairdryer to dry the carpet. And so, that was, both involved the shower, both involved me trying to cover up my tracks. But, that's probably a couple of amusing confessions.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Matt, and thank you for sharing. I know the shower, as in laying down, falling asleep in the shower, happened to someone I know very recently.
Okay, yeah.
Very recently. Yeah. This is like a 45-year-old man it happened to.
Okay. I don't feel so bad. I was probably, someone double my age was doing it, so I feel a little vindicated by that.
Oh, I love that. Little cheeky flood. And
ways to finish the night, a little cheeky flood.
Pardon the pun. And I really like what you did there. Is that like the thermal runaway you had in your head, that your pizza was going to get carried away with a battery, like a lithium battery? I love how you flooded that.
Yeah. I think in my head I was like, it's kind of above some kind of critical temperature that if I put this immediately in the bin, it might ignite, which is not a thing at that temp. Like, it's got to be, you know, several hundred, not like 100-degree disc of black pizza. So I don't know. Yeah, I went to this place of science and concern that really wasn't warranted, but
necessary.
Yeah, that drove the amusing pizza in the shower situation.
I love that. Well, it's nice to ride on the cautionary side of safety, so I love that. Safety first.
That's it.
Thank you for sharing. And I have to confess as well, I do love a wash when I get home. Love a shower to start be clean and just pretend the night didn't happen. Particularly wash your dirty feet as well. Particularly girls in heels, they pooch. So thank you for that. All right, we're up to reflection section, Matt. So we ask our guests 3 words to describe yourself when you're on the booze, and 3 words to describe yourself now in sobriety. Let's hear it.
3 words on the booze. Energetic. I'm very, very up and about. Very happy. I'm engaging. I'm chatting with people. I'm having a laugh. I'm really enjoying myself. And probably, it's not a word, but kind of up for anything. I'm usually very adventurous. Someone says, why don't we kick on? Why don't we, go for a dance, whatever the kind of direction the night is going. I'm usually like, yeah, let's do it. Let's have some fun. Let's let's have a story. Let's create a story,
Oh, I love that.
But yeah, very happy, up and about, enjoying myself. Everyone else is enjoying the energy. It's all very, very positive. Overwhelmingly.
That's
good. I feel like you're the ultimate wingman.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I was recruited at times by various friends to wingman them. So I must have been doing something right to help them. They've all, made it into successful relationships. Just not really wingmanning myself, apparently.
Poor old goose over here. What I found with those energetic, happy and up for anything, like there's no shame attached to any of that, Matt, which normally our guests have always come with a lot of shame. So this is really quite refreshing, isn't it, Breezer?
Yeah,
I haven't
100%.
heard those words before. So, yeah, you're kind of the perfect drunk.
Yeah, and I think that's I don't want to jump in too early on because I think there's some more serious kind of talking points later in the show. But I think not having any kind of negativity associated can actually lead to a slightly problematic situation where there isn't an apparent issue. There isn't an apparent problem with what's happening. It's everyone loves, Matt on, with a few drinks under his belt is so much fun. Everything's exciting. There's stories. It's good times. And so it's very hard to kind of reflect on what you're doing, whether or not, am I having a few too many to drink? Probably not. No, everyone, I'm having a good time. Everyone loves it when I'm about and having a good time. So, I think it is really positive, but I think there's also that kind of like slightly sinister side to it as well.
Yeah, because there's no gauge to go, oh, I'm absolutely butchering it here. There's no embarrassment or anything. So, yeah, interesting. So now tell us the 3 words to describe yourself in sobriety. And I can see your face light up already. This is amazing.
3 words, happier.
Love that.
I think happier, healthier.
Yes.
I mean, they're probably really, really cliched answers, but it is overwhelmingly much happier and content and much healthier, both mentally and physically. One more. Free. I think.
Banger.
I think there's this. It's quite liberating in when it's become such an important crutch to your social events, when you're socializing, when you're doing things. It can even be, I'm a bit nervous, quickly have a bit of Dutch courage. Claire, obviously, at the launch event with the lead up to the speech, there was no Dutch courage for me to have.
Amazing.
Had to just kind of face the music. But I think once you stop drinking and you start doing these things, you're like, I I don't need that. It was something that I thought I relied on, or thought I required to be socially engaged, to be charming, to be fun and enjoyable to be around. And you're like, actually, no, it's quite the opposite. So yeah, I think free is probably the third one I'd select.
Oh, yeah. And your speech was incredible, by the way. Did somebody tape that? Did somebody film that? Or did you write that?
I'm not sure. I mean, while I was up there, I obviously saw, a bunch of phones out. I don't know if they were mostly photos or videos, but certainly, the feedback I've got it was quite good. I think 100%. Amusingly, I think there was one of the blokes was actually up next to me, like banging tequila shots while I was doing it, which I obviously didn't see because I was looking out at the crowd. But I had someone come up and say, "Oh, there was some," which I don't know who it was, but yeah, apparently I thought that was a rather amusing juxtaposition. I'm there explaining my journey to sobriety, and there's someone punching down tequila shots, but
love it. Well, I wasn't there at that. Sorry, Mace. I was going to say I wasn't there during the evening at that night. So I'm really keen to hear about your journey.
Yeah.
Can you take us back? Take us back and tell us what your drinking looked like.
Yeah. I mean, those kind of 3-word descriptions, I think, summarize it quite well. My drinking was, it was enjoyable. It was really fun. I was very happy and outgoing. Everyone had a really good time when I had a few drinks. It was all very, very positive. And so, as I said, that not having any negative aspects can be, dangerous because it's quite enabling. There's no checks or balances in place because you're having a good time, everyone else is, so there's no problem. I think probably in the lead up to my decision, there was kind of probably 2 aspects that were a little more common. One was, and this is not unique to me, I imagine this is something that is around something that catalyzes everyone's decision is kind of the frequency of which brownouts are occurring, where you're having these, momentary lapses in memory, where, your recollection of the night has these little spots of missing data, basically.
Do you call it a brownout?
Yeah.
Brownout.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. So brownouts. Because you're kind of operating, and you probably remember various different parts of the night. Yeah. You kind of, everything's peachy, but when you try and recall certain details, they're missing, and so it's kind of, it's not a full blown blackout where you just like shut down and you wake up and you come to and you've got no idea where you are, but it's like, you're missing certain bits and pieces.
Yeah.
So that's one. And the other one was, I started, drinking for the wrong reasons. And as I said, when I was drinking and everyone saw the happy Matt and the fun Matt and going out and enjoying himself, but I found that there were things that were, stressing me. And, when I was in a really low mood, I've got my own battles with mental illness in the form of bipolar and depression, and these things might overwhelm me at times, and I'd be like, okay, this is a way to kind of numb some of those feelings. And it, embarrassingly as a scientist, if you have a depressed mood and you throw a depressant in there, it's 1 + 1 = 2. You know exactly what's going to happen, but obviously at the time that rational way of thinking eludes us. So I think there were probably more moments where, rather than it's a celebration, let's go have fun, it's a Sunday arvo in the sun, it's good times, I'm having a drink to augment and further elevate a happy time. It was, I'm in a really low spot, how can I make this feeling go away? And it's a really common thing for people, whether it's alcohol or it's another substance people are using. There's this real, it's a shit cycle, because you might get this moment of relief, but that relief is kind of borrowed, and eventually you've got to pay that debt back, and the debt is bigger.
Yeah. I can hear you loud and clear on that, Matt. I think we don't love labels, but it's kind of nice to find or give my alcohol how I use alcohol, a bit of a name, and I misused alcohol definitely to numb and escape. So I can really, really relate to that. But the payoff, it's hard. And so I guess that's the question, like, how bad did it get? What did that next day look like? And obviously on top of, and thanks for sharing that you struggles with bipolar and depression. Like, actually, and I'd love to deep dive more into that as well as we go along. But how bad did it get? What did that look like for you?
I think probably the worst parts would be, you'd reach for the bottle to numb some of these feelings, and then the next day the anxiety hits, the depressed mood is even further depressed. All those feelings you're trying to numb are back, compounded and bigger, and so you reach for the bottle slightly earlier. And if you have enough of these days in a row, you're reaching for it really early in the day. And I think that's kind of probably the ugly side of things. When things were really bad, it's kind of reaching for it far too early in the day. Midday is rolling around, and it even then was taking too long to roll around. So it's I think sometimes people have this idea of what problematic drinking looks like, and I think it's sometimes misunderstood that it's either you are a good drinker or you are a raging alcoholic, and it's a real binary categorical situation. And I think it's important to know that there's this real spectrum of problematic drinking, and certainly those are the two extremes. But there's a whole, there's a long sliding scale of what that can look like. And so mine was certainly not down the really deep and dark end, which is really hard to get out of, but it was certainly something that was problematic and something that I fortunately recognized that I needed to make a serious change.
Can I ask how long that period was before you made that change?
Yeah, I mean, it's, and I was quite functional in the sense that in weekdays I could be operating quite well. And so it was something that would then come up around more weekends. So there's this level of functionality that I was able to present with. But yeah, I mean, timeline wise, it was probably in the lead up to finally deciding that I wanted to stop drinking for good. It was probably a couple of months.
Right. There
were like small blips prior to that, where there'd be a flurry of a dark period over a shorter period of time, and I'd make some serious changes, and then kind of things would stabilize again. But when it kind of got to a point where I recognized, and certainly some of those closest to me were concerned. I think it was probably a couple of months where it kind of hit this point where it was like, okay, I'm the reason that I'm having a drink is no longer because I'm having fun and trying to enjoy myself and celebrating something or whatnot. Not that these things make drinking to excess better, but comparing that to then drinking for the wrong reasons, there's one that's slightly better than the other.
Yeah. And was that tipping point for you, Matt? Was that after a big night, or was that just? I had a couple of weddings actually, and I had given it a nudge at a couple of these weddings, and I think some of the kind of feelings that I was trying to numb were not being numbed as much. And so rather than just being really high and fun and happy and enjoying myself, there were times where I'd get through, I might have those periods, but then I'd start feeling the shitty feelings again. And so it's almost like, okay, now I've paid the price, but I'm not even getting the relief. And so I think that was probably the real tipping point, so to speak, where it was, okay, this unhealthy way of dealing with life's stresses and life's challenges and my own mental illness is no longer
even providing that temporary relief. And so it's important that I now address that in a more sustainable and healthy way.
Unreal.
We often, I was going to say, we often we call it Band-Aid in a bottle. Essentially, Band-Aids it for a bit, but doesn't cure it.
And it does, because it works. Like, alcohol really works. Like, I've noticed recently when I've gone through a few wobbles, I'm like, I could just pour some booze on this and it would just take that pain away. And I know it will, because it does, but for that little short time. And it was interesting, Matt, and I wonder, like, I'm starting to look back at my drinking, and it was a bit the same. It got earlier in the day, like midday or earlier. That's even how the podcast started, when Breeze and I were having a Zoom chat, and it was like 11 o'clock or 10:30 in the morning about another business. She was mentoring me for some social media stuff, and I had rosé in a keep cup. At 10:30, you're having a business meeting. What am I doing? Do you know what I mean? And it had the podcast not come, it had Breeze and not said, let's start a podcast or booze-free bants. Let's, you're my co-host. And it keeps me accountable every single week. I don't know what my drinking would have looked like. And they talk about the invisible line of when you go from misuse to dependency. I don't know whether I'm pretty sure I would have crossed that had the podcast not come into my life. Do you feel like that would have been something you might have crossed as well?
Yeah. And I think, because just by coincidence, the date or the moment where I decided to stop drinking and make these changes to my life coincided with COVID. And about a month, I think, after I made the decision, there was the nationwide lockdown. That obviously, eased up after a couple of months, but then I was in Melbourne and we hit the really big and ugly 4.5 month one, I think it was. And so I think, there was, it was quite commonplace. There was the amusing anecdotes about people, it's midday, why don't we open a bottle of red wine and stuff? And there was this kind of amusement about the novelty of working from home and being able to have a midday glass of wine. And it was kind of, it was everywhere, that kind of idea. I think people kind of accepted that was reasonable considering the situation. And so I think, had I not made that decision going into that set of circumstances where I was working from home, I am not in the office, there's almost this normalization of, have a drink with lunch because we're all locked in, I think, it was a really dangerous cocktail that I'm glad I had avoided, because I think it would have been a really challenging time had I not. And it would have just made the hole that much deeper that I had to work my way out of. So, I think definitely there was a risk of that had I not, made that decision when I did.
Yeah, but also, like, on the flip side of that, tough time to give up the booze, given that everyone's at home drinking, and you could have easily just gone back to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, it was tough. There's certainly ways where it was easier in the sense that there was no socializing at pubs and bars, so you just weren't going out. But it was harder in the sense that, the world's fucked. I could do with a drink, or you're on Zoom with your friends at 5 o'clock on a Friday. This is the most personal interaction you're going to have, and they're all having drinks. And so there was kind of pros and cons to it, in the sense that there was some moments where it was easier, but overwhelmingly I think it was, I don't want to say encouraged, but there was the circumstances were such that it was easier to drink, I think, more than you would usually.
Oh, 100%. Like, sorry, Breeza, you go.
No, I was just going to say, you just reminded me of something, Matt. During lockdown, my kids had their parent-teacher interviews over Zoom, and I did it with drinking wine. I was like, this is so good. I can drink wine and talk to the teacher. Just remembered that. So thanks for bringing that memory up for me.
Yeah. Oh, pleasure.
Yeah. Well, even talking about how, like Danny Green, we've had on the pod as well, and he spoke about, bottle shops were open, but gyms were shut. So if there was ever a time that we were going to ramp up our drinking, and so impressive that you've just gone, no, actually, this is the hardest time I can ever try and give up drinking, and you put a stop to it. Did you announce it to anyone, or is it something you went about quietly?
Pretty quietly. I spoke with I've got a very tight and supportive inner circle, and so I kind of spoke with them. I'd spoken with them as well at length, where just when I was struggling mental health wise, and so they knew that I was having a harder run of things, but that I'd also, this is something I wanted to do, and I think it's something that's going to be really important for my mental health. And so there was certainly a kind of inner circle that were aware of that, but there was kind of a broader friendship group that I kind of didn't speak about it with. But I mean, alcohol is recession proof, right? So whether it's a pandemic or the cost of living's rising, somehow alcohol continues to kind of be sold and consumed, no matter what the economic conditions seem to be. So it's tough.
It's a beast.
It is a beast that evidently doesn't rest.
Yeah, true story. So did you know anyone sober? Did you reach out to them? And since you've gone sober, I'm sure your DMs are blowing up. Everyone's coming at you on advice or support.
Yeah, so I was very lucky in that my older brother had been dry for about 10 years. And he's came around from physical health reasons. He got quite crook, and the doctors advised, stop drinking for 12 months. And at the end of those 12 months, he just said, actually, I feel brilliant. I've got no interest in drinking again. So he had been, dry for 12 months, almost 10 years, I think, at that stage. And he had kind of plowed through in that decade basically every non-alcoholic beer and wine that you could. So this was kind of before, because 2020, they weren't that commonplace still. And so he was like importing them from Germany and stuff like that. The Germans have been doing non-alcoholic beers for a long time. And so he was getting, can't even remember, some Weihenstefaners and Erdingers and all these kind of various Holstons, I think, were in there. But he had already sussed it out for me. So he said, look, if you want to know the best beers, these are the ones to go. So that was, you can't ask for a better mentor in that way than someone who you have this very deep trust in being a family member, but B, they've got a decade of experience to tell you basically, okay, these are some of the challenges and here's your non-alcoholic beer option. So, I definitely was pretty lucky in that regard. In terms of people reaching out for advice, I get a few every now and then through the DMs, and I tried to respond as much as I can, and when time permits. But one of the common ones I think that comes up, and I imagine it probably is a similar question that you both get as well, which is, how do you start? Or I've done it for a week and then I had a drink, and the response I always have to those kind of, I did it for 4 days, but then I had a drink. It's like, so like that, it doesn't mean everything's gone to waste. Like, you lost, go back to getting pissed every day. Like, it's you didn't drink for 4 days. You celebrate that. Okay, now you had a drink that day. Get back on the horse. I think there's this kind of pressure that it has to be all or nothing. It's anything short of absolute sobriety is a failing, and it's not. And if your goal is absolute sobriety, then that's great. But you're also allowed to have some missteps. You're allowed to, have a wobble, accidentally have a drink here or there, have a moment of weakness or whatever. But you don't lose those days where you didn't drink just because you had a drink. And I think it's trying to get away from that absolutism that any day you didn't drink is still, better than you've made progress in whatever goal that you're trying to achieve. And so you don't need to see it as, I drank, so back to my normal behavior. You can say, okay, I drank and now I'm going to continue what I was doing because I loved it.
Yeah, that's great advice, Matt. And I think it's one thing we do really bang on about is being really clear with your why. There's some people that absolutely should never drink again. That's be really sure about that. And for listeners that are listening, don't pin your sobriety on ours. But you're right, Matt. I think, everyday drinker, we do, or they if they don't get sobriety right the first time, they quit quitting, like Lucy from Thrivalist. It talks about that as well. So great advice.
Great advice.
Chat. Love chat.
we do say sobriety is a journey, not a destination.
For sure.
Constantly.
For sure.
constantly evolving.
Yeah.
So tell us, Matt, highs and lows of sobriety.
Highs and lows. Ooh. I mean, highs are pretty obvious. Mental and physical health is just, it's not even comparable to when you're drinking. It's day and night. Mentally just feeling great. You're not throwing a depressant on top of whatever you're going through. I mean, if you don't have mental illnesses, then obviously you're throwing a depressant on. You're going to have to go through that. Maybe you get the anxiety the next day. If you do have mental illnesses, as I said before, worst scientist in the world, knows exactly what happens adding a depressant to someone with depression, but still did it. But it's going to, it just absolutely wreaks havoc with your mental health. So that's a very obvious one. The physical stuff as well. You're not pumping excess calories into your body. You're not ingesting a poison. Your liver recognizes it as a poison. You're not adding this poison to your body and putting strain on your organs. No hangover means you're getting up fresh every day, ready to exercise. I get up, so 7 a.m. on Sundays to do a run class.
Oh.
You get home, the people with the hangovers probably aren't even out of bed. And you're not doing it to have this holier-than-thou attitude, but it's just highlighting how stark the difference is with your physical health when you're drinking and when you're not drinking. So that's that. Yeah, I mean, they're very obvious, I guess. Trying to think some of the other highs that are kind of maybe not as obvious.
Well, you look fresh. Everyone in sobriety just has an inner glow about them, don't you reckon? Everyone just looks fresh.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, financially as well, right? Like going out to have a drink, you're dropping 3 figures almost inevitably, right? Like you buy a bottle of wine, put you down like that. You have a few pints with your mates, maybe some greasy food as well. It's almost certainly you're going to be putting down $100 or more.
The pizza and the water bill from putting out pizzas.
I mean, yeah, that's it. Look, evidently my water bill was, at the time I was living at home, so my folks are copping it. But yeah, if I was to be doing that now, that would definitely be another one. But yeah, just other highs. I think there's a certain kind of, has to do with that liberating feeling of recognizing that it's you that everyone is enjoying being with. It's your personality. It's you they're finding charming and entertaining and that they like spending time with. It's not the alcohol. It's not drunk Matt. It's not, even tipsy Matt. It's no. It's Matt. That's who they want to spend time with and who they love and enjoy being around. And I think that's a high and there's also, I think there's a challenge actually accepting that as well sometimes, because we get so used to thinking that we need this additional assistance to be liked, that we kind of want to reject almost that, like, yeah, people like you for who you are. And so, yeah, I think there's this high when you kind of finally get to the point of accepting that and realizing that that is the truth. So I'd say that's probably some of the highs. That some of them are probably more cliche than others, but I think they're cliches for a reason. It's because everyone almost unanimously finds those things as a result of not drinking. The lows, look, definitely there's some times, this isn't really a low, it's more like a thing to miss, but, a beautiful Sunday arvo on an outdoor balcony or rooftop with the sun in your face. You think, gee, I wouldn't mind having a couple of pints, actually. This is a really nice situation. So that's definitely something I miss, but it's not necessarily a low, I don't think. I think the lows probably come around when you first start your journey, where there's this additional anxiety because you're almost inevitably going to face this line of inquiry about why you're not drinking.
Yeah.
And you rock up at a social event and you're having whether that's a non-alcoholic beer that is clearly a non-alcoholic beer, which there's not loads. Pash is one that wants to shake that that culture. There we go. But yeah, or if you're just having water or soft drink or whatever, and so there's suddenly people asking you, why are you not drinking? What's going on? Oh, do you have to drive later tonight? You're getting up early in the morning. And there's I bring this up almost every time someone asks me about my journey to sobriety, and I'm sure it's come up before on your podcast, which is there's no other substance where people ask why you're not doing it.
Yeah.
No one asks. They come up to you at the night and they're like, you're not doing ketamine tonight? Is that?
Yeah.
Do you have to drive? Oh, yeah. Oh, it's no heroin tonight? No. Oh, do you have to get up early tomorrow morning? It's there's nothing else you have to justify except no other substance that you have to justify except alcohol. And if you look at the research around kind of personal, I think it's personal, social, and I can't remember the last impact, but there's a measure of the impact of various substances, and alcohol is one of the worst. It's like top 3 most destructive across these 3 metrics.
You say it's the top one. It overrides heroin, doesn't it?
I think the social damage is top from memory. I think when you consolidate the 3 of them, I don't think it's top, but it's top 3. I think, and I imagine it wouldn't be legalized if it was invented today.
Yeah,
and it's so destructive in various different ways, and it's obviously a poison, but it's also one of the only substances. There's only a handful. I think alcohol and benzos are 2 of them, but the withdrawals can kill you. And so if you are so deep into a problematic drinking cycle, you can't even go cold turkey. You need to seek medical assistance to wean yourself off because you're at risk of dying from withdrawals. And so I think I've really drifted far away from what the question was, but the point was, I don't think it would be legalized if it was invented today. It's just something that was obviously a bit of a legacy from very, very early humans, early agricultural inventions. So
I think it wasn't a form of payment, I think, as well.
I think
rum.
Payment. I think
rum in Australia definitely was.
Yeah, I've heard as well. Very, very early stages, it was a way to kind of sterilize water. Yeah, the fermentation process could, and the production of alcohol could then make sure that water was safe to drink. And then the byproduct being they all had a good time on it. But yeah, it's something that was invented a long time ago, and it's by various metrics, it's very damaging, very destructive.
It's so true what you were saying. Jay Shetty interview with Tom Holland, that particular clip you'll see on our Instagram as well. Tom Holland, Spider-Man, and dates. What's her name?
Yeah.
Like,
gorgeous, hot couple alert.
Hot. Yeah. He was saying as well that, if alcohol was brought into the world now and you were to say, here's this poison, it's going to make you get real loosey-goosey. You're going to act like a dick. You're going to wake up the next day hungover and, anxiety and all the rest. People would be like, no way, mate. Like, as you know, pass. Do you know what I mean? It's just madness that we've just normalized this so hard in the culture. And hopefully, podcasts and us talking about this breaks down that stigma. It may not happen in our lifetime, but it will be like smoking in another 20 years' time, don't you think?
I think so, yeah. I mean, the other one on top of all those personal things, like as a country, economically, hangovers and things of that nature, it costs billions of dollars to the Australian economy. And so the same thing, you offer this up to people at a personal level. And it's like, hang on, so what? And you're telling me I basically drink my money to feel shit. And then you say to, okay, but Australia economically, this substance, we're going to just wipe billions off your budget each year.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, you beauty. This sounds like a no-brainer to me. So no matter how you slice it, it would be. I can't see how it would be legal if it was invented today.
Yeah.
Because you put it on paper, the proposition is ludicrous.
It is. What was that? What were the figures we did the other day, Breeze? We had Cooper Chapman was on. He was talking about every, once a month, you're wiping your day out hungover. Like we just pencil in a hangover day. So how many times a year are you losing scary, of your life?
Yeah. It was like if you drink every weekend, it was like a month of your life is wasted on hangovers. Sorry, a month of your year.
Yeah.
Is wasted on hangovers. Because if you're drinking 4 days a month, 12 months a year, do the math. But yeah, it's a lot of wasted days of your life.
A lot, yeah.
That we just accept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a one-liner, Matt? Like when people talk to you at parties and say, "Oh, why aren't you drinking?" Do you have a one-liner, or where do you go from there?
Yeah, I usually just straight up say, I feel so much better mentally not drinking. And it just, and it comes up a lot as well. Like obviously I'm dating at the moment, and I still obviously recommend, do you want to go out for a drink to a bar or a cup, like whatever it is. It is still kind of the standard first date thing is to go out for a drink. And I always say it as well, just to make it clear at the bar, just because I think it can give off, I don't know, uncomfortable vibes if I'm there not drinking and I'm buying alcoholic drinks for the person I'm seeing. And so I kind of make it clear up front that I don't drink. And so inevitably when they ask why, I just say I just feel better mentally not. And it almost, I've never had kind of a follow-up question. It's just such a easy answer that people are like, well, there's nothing I can really ask deeper than that.
It's a very closed answer and they can't go on with it. I like that.
Curiously, because I'm in the dating world as well, do you tell these lucky ladies that you're not drinking during the kind of communication, those early stages? Courting, yes, or when you're at the bar? Like, how do you frame that? And has there been any pushback with that from?
No, so usually I don't bring it up unless someone overtly asks, which is very rare to come up, unless it gets to some kind of discussion around what's your usual go-to drink, right? So if that comes up organically in a chat, I'll say, look, I don't drink anymore. Otherwise, usually I won't mention it, as I said, until I get to the date, to a bar, and it's more just to make them, I guess, feel comfortable about the fact that I'm there drinking non-alcoholic beverages and they're drinking alcoholic beverages, just because, I mean, the nature of dating and the I spoke about late last year, there was a modern masculinity thing I did with Bumble where I was discussing some of the things about dating that men need to really consider, which is the fact that from a woman's perspective, dating, and certainly blind dating or dating with online apps, there is this kind of danger that men don't have, right? Men just rock up and they're like, it doesn't matter, it's fine. But there's this inherent, I hate saying risk, but it is, right? It's you're going to meet someone you've never met before. There is this kind of element of danger to that, and so it's on the man to be responsible to make sure that the other party feels safe. And so I think part of that is being very clear about the fact that I'm not drinking. If you want to drink, that's totally cool. If you don't want to drink, that's just as cool. Like literally whatever your choice is, that's fine with me. But I make sure it's clear so they know, okay, he doesn't drink. It's not him doing some kind of creepy thing with being, do you know what I mean? Like I'm kind of, it's about making sure the communication is clear so that everyone feels safe and comfortable on a date.
Oh, I love that.
Men, listen up.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great that you do that. I think there's been more of that.
100% talking about not drinking, talking about non-alcs. Let's talk about Pash. Congratulations, Matt.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I was lucky enough to, and sorry, Breeze, I missed out on that one, to rock up to the.
Sorry, Bree.
I think I was in Bali.
Oh, okay. No, I'm sorry.
So I'm okay with it.
Everything's okay. Not bad. Came over the top with Bali. One upped us.
Yeah,
I did have
FOMO
though. I did have FOMO. Trust me. I did.
Good.
Let's talk about Pash, Matt. Like, congratulations with Emma and Sam and everybody else that's involved. We went to Abacus for the launch. The who's who were there. There was a lot of well-known faces in there, and you just smashed it. So let's talk Pash. How, when, where Where can we find it? Tell us all things Pash.
Yeah. So it was about 20 months of work. I actually, in the lead up to the launch, I went through my messages to find the initial kind of seed being planted between me and Sam, who you met on the night. And yeah, it was almost bang on 20 months from when we first kind of floated the idea. He'd tapped me and said, we had discussed a lot of startups over the years. And then he kind of said, what about a non-alc one? And I obviously jumped at it because I had a lot of skin in the game. I had my own story about why I stopped drinking. And I think that's something that people really like. That authenticity is something that people resonate with. So planted the seed, started putting all the pieces together, figuring out how we're going to do this, started developing the flavor profile kind of early last year, went through a extensive tasting of what was the current offerings, what was working, what wasn't working. Also kind of thinking about from full strength beer, what's working, what's not working, what is the position we want to take in terms of what market are we targeting. Went through a thorough R&D process with the actual flavor itself, tweaked it, got it into where we liked it. Obviously, then there was loads of brand development. There was messaging, there was photo shoots, and eventually we got it to the spot of launching, which was end of June last year, just in time for Dry July. Yeah, as you said, got a really, really good turnout for a wet and miserable school night. So really happy with how many people showed up and showed their support. So yeah, it's been something. It's a labor of love. It's something that I've been very excited about for months. Haven't been able to talk about it too much because it's one of those things you tell people too early and they've lost interest by the time you launch. So we really kind of kept it mum as long as possible. And then yeah, now it's out there, and now it's the kind of the real grind. Now it's about getting it into venues, getting it onto people's lips, getting it into retailers, all that fun stuff. Which the only way to do it is time and hustle, and seeing people, pressing flesh, charming people, ingratiating myself, and getting them to stock Pash and taste it and tell their friends. So that's where we're at the moment. In terms of availability, it's mostly throwing e-com, so website at the moment. The plan will be to, over the next coming months, start getting it into both on-prem pubs and eateries and places like that, and then off-prem get into the bottle shops and supermarkets and all of those things. So yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, thank you.
I want to know where the name comes from because I'm a marketer, Matt. So I'm like, where's the name come from? The branding. I love the branding. Tell me all about that bit.
Okay, yeah. So the name, again, in this tasting sessions we had, me and a couple of the co-founders, we were bouncing around names, and I mean, there was obviously a lot of awful names that were thrown around that were like, I mean, there's no. What's the thing? What is it? No idea is a bad idea, but there was definitely some bad ideas in that batch, I think. But yeah, so we bounced a few around, and what we wanted, and I spoke about it on the night, Claire, which was we wanted a drink that was not just appealing to your stereotypical Aussie man beer drinker. And you look at basically all beer offerings, and they are so heavily masculinized, and all the marketing is heavily masculinized around alcohol broadly, but specifically beer. And there's very few that are kind of shown to be, appealing to women, and appealing just to a more inclusive audience beyond, your hyper masculinized bloke. So we wanted to do that, and so the Pash got thrown around by Sam. Actually brought it up, and I think I can't remember exactly. I think we were playing around with like Aussie phrases and Aussie terms, and he floated Pash, and initially we're like, oh, that's not too bad actually, and fast forward half an hour later, and we're patting ourselves on the back for coming up with the greatest name for a beer in all history. But one of the things we liked about it was that it kind of captured both men and women. It had this kind of quintessential ocherism to it that I think a lot of blokes kind of liked and resonated with, but it's also kind of the name and the mouthfeel has a bit of a softer, more feminine tone as well. And so we thought it was a really good name for capturing both demographics. It's also really fun from a marketing point of view. There's just so much low-hanging fruit about, do you want a pash? Can I put a pash on your lips? Fancy a pash? All of this stuff. So there's a lot of play there. We also, our branding, we did actually kind of, we've moved a little away from there's always going to be cheeky pash, but one of the bigger focuses we have is passion. Pash is a contraction of passion. And so the question is, or the directive is find your pash. What is it that you're passionate about? And it's about empowering people to own the things they're passionate about, own their choices, and own who they are. And so that kind of really became a core part of our brand DNA, and that drove a lot of the decisions regarding the design of the brand. And so the I guess bold and loudness of the can is kind of about that, about owning your decisions. We wanted to get away from the fact that a lot of non-alcoholic beers are branded to look like alcoholic beers in case you want to avoid that line of inquiry about why you're not drinking. It's like being, you're drinking in disguise. And we just kind of want to reject that idea. We want to shake up the status quo. We want people to drink pash loudly and proudly. And if someone sees you drinking a pash, there's no confusion. There's no alcoholic beverage they're confusing that can with. That is very clearly, very loud. It stands out compared to basically every other beer branding on the market, that they're drinking a non-alcoholic beer and they're loudly and proudly doing that. And so the branding was intentionally done that way. And some people have said, it doesn't look like a beer. And I'm like, that's kind of the point. It's all the beers currently look like beers for men. They all have a similar look and market to them. And ours is like, it's beer, but it's non-alcoholic beer, and it's unapologetically non-alcoholic beer.
Huh. Oh, that's gold.
It's arrived.
Good.
When Pash has taken over the world and is sponsoring like marathons, can you please call it the Passion Dash?
Yes. No, I like that. We've got all sorts of, pash for cash. I think one of the co-founders wants to do like a pashing booth. Which I'm not exactly sure what that entails, but
Matt, you're in the booth.
I kind of have said, look, I need to hear what you're actually thinking before I give a thumbs up to this.
I like it. I like where this marketing's heading.
Very clever.
Can you guys hear? I've got a tree lopper that's just rocked up outside my house. You can't hear any noise.
No. Great. Can you hear Rocky snoring?
No. It's all going on.
Have you heard Pluto? Pluto's had a couple of barking fits. Have you heard?
I heard him once. Yeah, I heard just a little butt once.
Oh, I love
barking at the sun.
There's some birds that land in the courtyard, like just on the roof, and he's been getting stuck into them recently.
I love that.
The birds terrorize my dog as well. Chili goes off. I think that's what she does all day. Is just plays games with the birds when I'm not home. How exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. I've got, you can kind of see just this orange little blur.
We can.
I've got a stack of 9 slabs in the back there, because obviously I'm just, every meeting I have to go to, it's get this 4-pack into you.
And it was so nice. When we went to the night, they had this whole pyramid set up, and you could take a little 4-pack to take home, and a bicky. Where's the bicky? I kept the bicky for you, Breezer.
I hope the bickies are still all right. I thought you'd get stuck into them already.
I can't. I've got a bit of dietary requirement.
Right. Understandable.
Situation.
But the cans, they look awesome. They look so good, and I love everything. Gorgeous.
Yeah,
gorgeous. I love that you guys are sticking in your own lane. Like you're really, it's a real point of difference, and I love that. You're sort of breaking the mold a bit in the non-alc space, which good on you guys. Well done. How exciting! I can't wait to see where it goes.
So good.
Have you had any yet, Bree?
I haven't yet. I'm in Bendigo. Okay. I'm in Bendigo, so I haven't.
These are
had any.
That's okay. I'll get a pash pack out to you. I'll get.
You know what, Matt? I would love that, because I am a beer drinker, and when I stopped drinking, I was like, I went to a couple of different non-alc beers. I'm like, can't do it. It's just like, what is this trash? And then I did find one that I really loved, and it was my savior, honestly, because I love nothing more than a hot summer's day than having a beer after work or on the weekend, pottering around the house in the backyard. So to find a great tasting non-alc beer was just the sheet lifted up, it was just amazing that I could still enjoy a beer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I loved everything, the ritual, I loved everything about it.
Yeah, the ritual is part of it. And like I said, having a beer on a really lovely sunny day is still it's one of life's great pleasures, I think. Yeah. And so, having the alcohol optional in that beer, I think is really good. So, I'll get you to leave your address, and
I would love that.
Post out
I actually go to pubs based on if I know that they've got the non-alc beer that I drink there.
Yeah.
So
amazing.
Huge.
Do you know, just before you go on, Breezer, when I was talking to Sam and Emma, they said, because Duruk Jayasinger, who we've had on the pod, he said he couldn't, he said it was so the same as the beer that he used to drink. He couldn't keep drinking it because it had imitated it so much. So that's a massive compliment of how that's so close to what he had that he couldn't drink it. That sounds like the front, but you know what I mean? Like, it's amazing.
He told me on the night, because obviously I was asking people for feedback, and I said, no platitudes, like give me your honest feedback. And when he said that, I was obviously it's a great compliment, but I was also like a bit sad that he can't enjoy it. But I totally understood. But I mean, the feedback we're getting, and I'm not sure how we've quite nailed this, because in my head these two demographics are complete opposite ends of the spectrum, but we're getting people that are seasoned beer drinkers. One of my good mates who lives over in Perth, he loves an Emu export, and he said he loved it. It's easily his favorite non-alcoholic beer. He would session it. He could see himself, if he was skipper for the day, he would easily be able to have a session on them. And then at the complete other end of the spectrum, we've got people coming up saying, I don't like beer, I'm not a beer drinker, I like this, I would drink this. And so that I mean, that's obviously music to my ears, but in my head they seem like opposite ends of the spectrum. But for whatever reason, the flavor profile we've got is doing what we wanted to do, which was creating a product that was much more inclusive and was appealing to palates beyond just Australian beer drinking men.
Nailing it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well done. Now we're going to circle back to you for a little moment, Matt. Can you tell our listeners, or tell us what worked for you? How did you get off the booze?
How did I do it? One of the things I did, and I think it's really helpful, is and probably hard for some people as well, but telling you kind of your inner circle what you're doing, because it's easier when you've got a few other people on your team when you're out at the pub who are helping navigate that kind of, you're in a very heavy alcohol drinking environment. So to go in there solo is quite hard. To go in there with, a mate or two who they know you're not drinking, they get around, they just come back with a soda water. They don't even ask you. If someone asks if you want to drink and they're there and say, oh, no, he's not drinking, just having that additional voice, it just shuts down if there are people who are particularly pedantic about trying to understand why it is you're not drinking. Having an extra soldier or two it just helps. It makes it, the load is lighter when you share it with some other people. So I think that's one that helped me, having a few other people who knew what I was doing to just help out. I think having a bit of a plan initially, you kind of do want to have a bit of a, okay, what am I going to do here? What am I going to drink? What am I going to do if people ask me to drink something? What if they're doing rounds and they want to include me in the rounds? Having a bit of an idea of what you want to do. Once you've kind of navigated that environment a couple of times, or maybe more than a couple, but once you've done it, say a dozen times or so, it's easy. You don't need to prepare. You go in, you know what you're doing, you know your way around, you know how to shut down conversations you don't want to entertain at all. When you're first doing it, it's good to kind of have a bit of a mud map in your head about how you want it to go down and what you want the night to go like. So I think preparation is probably really key initially when you're starting out, having people help when you're starting out, and I think they're probably the two of the biggest. And I'd say, trying some of the non-alc options. I mean, obviously right now I'd say just just have Pash. You don't need to try anything.
It's on Pash.
I've solved the problem for you.
You can totally say that.
Oh, look, I mean, look, it would have been so easy for me if I had Pash, and so I'd recommend just getting on some Pash.
Find it at www.
Drinkpash.com.au. But I think, there are so many options now as well. I'm obviously biased in what I'd recommend, but if you're a wine drinker, some of the non-alcoholic wines are quite nice. If you're more into gins or mixed beverages, there's a bunch of different mocktails you can get now that they're never going to be quite like an old-fashioned or a Negroni, but they're close enough that you can drink it and enjoy it and feel like you're scratching the itch a little bit. And so any of those kind of cravings you have, there's options now to kind of satisfy those cravings. And so it's just the confidence and resilience to be able to stick to what you want to do. And that's where I think having the plan and having your friends on board really help you stick to that plan.
Yep. And a massive shout out to all the supportive friends out there, because you guys are absolute guns. So well done, friends.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's I try to tell my friends at any opportunity how much they've helped me across not just that, but also my mental health challenges. But I think it's important that people know, the friends, the inner circles, the support, both that you receive and what you give is such an important part for all of us to keep fighting the challenges that we fight, whatever they may be.
Sounds like you've got a good squad, a good cheer squad around you, Matt. Just and if you're comfortable, and much respect if you're not, we had raised about your depression and bipolar. Would you like to tell the listeners anything about that you'd like to share a message with?
I mean, there's probably not a ton I would add in addition to. I gave an interview with Jess Rowe a few months back. And that
on
was
her poddy. Was it on her poddy?
On her pod, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
And so that was I've kind of gone into great detail there.
We'll put a link in the show notes.
Yeah, we will.
I think that's beyond that. I think that it was a hard conversation for me to have, and so I wouldn't necessarily talk about it in great depth now. But
much respect.
I think for a lot of people, hearing me share my story was helpful to feel seen and heard, and to also, and I'm guilty of doing this a little myself, which is the external view, I think, of myself and my life that you see through the media and social media, and that's where I'm partly to blame. Is a very kind of curated, successful, happy, everything's peachy life. And I think kind of dropping the mask a little bit there and letting people in to see that it doesn't discriminate in who is battling, and there's almost certainly people in your life that would be fighting some of these battles unknown to you. And so, I'm not sure there's loads for me to add right now, but certainly if you've got your own mental illnesses that you're fighting through, certainly alcohol and other substances, while they might give you some kind of temporary relief, it ultimately is causing so much more damage and wreaking havoc and making those mental illnesses orders of magnitude more challenging to work through yourself. And so if you are finding that you're leaning on some of these things, the talk, it's hard to recommend. Some of the things do require financial resources, which not everyone has access to, but something we do all have access to is communicating and talking to others, ideally someone near and dear, your loved ones, your inner circles. But if not that, then contacting Lifeline or contacting the Beyond Blue support and advice line, and contacting the various agencies and charitable enterprises that can provide someone to talk to if you don't have the financial resources to seek medical and psychological assistance. And so, yeah, I think that's probably the biggest takeaway I'd say is talk. I know it's hard to access something more medical than fluffing my words here, but yeah, if you're unable to financially access some of these things, then just do talk to your friends and loved ones, and or use these phone resources that are available, and get away from the alcohol and substances, because the relief is fleeting and the damage is much longer lasting.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Matt. And we'll definitely link that interview with Jessica Rowe, 100%. So thank you for sharing. I know that was probably a little bit difficult to touch on, we really appreciate your boundaries with that as well. So thank you. Be really helpful for our listeners for sure. So we're just getting on to the last of our segments. We're going on to rapid fire. Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Here we go. I'm probably not ready, but, I'll just have something to drink.
A bit of pash.
Yeah, I wish it was some pash, actually. I haven't. My fridge is well stocked. I mean, if anyone comes over, they're like, all right, this bloke, he's got pash ready to go at all times of day. I love a pash.
Did you have play school when you were growing up? Was the rocket ship what sent you into where you first got your space?
I did have play school. Yeah, the rocket ship I used to get very excited about. It was
iconic.
Probably number 2 would be the windows, the 3 windows. But the rocket ship was the highlight of every play school episode for me.
Oh, honestly. And did you ever, when they had like those live shows, you'd see the rocket ship like roll in? It was just mind bending.
No, I didn't see that. Oh, I feel ripped off now.
Oh no. What about did you ever pick the arch window? Did anyone ever pick the arch?
Yeah, I mean, they sometimes did the arch window, but I feel like that was the rare one. That was, it was a treat if you got the arch window.
Exactly. All right, Matt, what was more nerve-wracking? Was it being the bachelor or shaving those long, luscious locks off for Shave a Cure?
Yeah, bachelor was much harder. The shaving of the hair was obviously big, and it was full on, and doing it on telly was an experience. And then fully, we got the razor out, we got the blade, we went right down to the skin. So that was a lot, but ultimately it was easy knowing what outcomes were coming from it. So knowing that this was raising a huge amount of awareness for a really important cause, and also raising a huge amount of money for a really important cause. So, as challenging as that was, having that in the the focus at all times made it relatively easy. Dating on national television is much harder, I've got no media training, so suddenly being thrown in that situation was very much a bit of a fish out of water.
Oh, no, I think dating in general is pretty nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So kudos to you. Yeah. Was it Sylvia Jeffries and Dave Campbell who shaved your hair? Was it the morning show?
I think it was, yeah. I think Sylvia, I think she got to do the honours. I think Dave just watched on and questioned me while it was going on, which was it was hard to kind of answer these questions while you've got mechanized razor blades going over your head. So it was it was fun. It was fun. It was a good I looked interesting after Sylvia's shave, because it was like I looked like a lab experiment. I had like tufts of hair all over the place, and that fortunately I had someone in hair and makeup help out after and actually shave it down properly. But
so
Sylvia's
amazing effort.
How
much money did you raise out of curiosity?
I think it was about 20 grand in the end, 25 grand, I think. We raised some good money, which was really good. It was it's something I was really excited to be a part of, and I met I met a young lad. He was 7, I think, and he had just I think he had 2 years earlier was battling through it was a very specific strain of leukemia. The name escapes me at the moment, but was in remission, and it's yeah, it's very sobering and emotional. I think when you meet someone that young, a 7-year-old shouldn't have had to beat cancer. So yeah, it kind of puts some things in perspective, but it also just highlights why it is such an important cause.
Yeah, well done by you. Just quickly, how often were you washing that mop of hair?
The mop. Yeah, well, I had a pretty diligent hair routine. I used to get, I was conditioning like weekly, I think, and then I'd do a full blown wash. I think it was fortnightly or something like that. So it was it was hard, right? Because I was reading all these things about not wanting to over shampoo, and it kind of like strips your oils, and your scalp over produces oils, and it becomes greasy. And so I was like, I feel like there's every option of how often you should wash your hair was put forward scientifically as the right thing to do. So I kind of had to wade through all this nonsense and be like, okay, which one actually is legitimate? But yeah, I found kind of something that I was like, okay, it looks shiny, it doesn't look greasy, it feels nice. So I ended up finding a good spot that it was looking luscious.
Lush. I love that. And last question, I love that. It was luscious, by the way. You've got a lot of different looks. We're loving this one currently.
Thank you.
3 songs to choose from, which would describe you best: Rocket Man by Elton John, Shooting Star by Bag Raiders, or Space Oddity by
Bowie.
Bowie. David Bowie. Thank you.
Yeah, it's got to be Space Oddity. I love Space Oddity. I love all 3 of those songs, but I think Bowie, he just edges out the other 2.
There you go. Bang. All right. Last little segment. Thank you for that. That was fun.
Yeah, no, pleasure.
Meso, just before we wrap up the potty and jump into our last few segments, let's talk about our 2 new sponsors for season 3, starting off with Cinch Skin. I'm a massive fan. You're a massive fan. I've been using their Spray and Glow product. They're a skincare range. For the last 6 or so years I've been using it. I know you're all over their products too, aren't you, Meso?
I am. I'm showcasing them right now.
And the thing about the Cinch Skin is that it's skincare simplified. Makes it nice and easy.
Yep. Uncomplicated, multi-benefit skincare routine packed with clinically proven ingredients for maximum results, and it's cruelty-free.
We love it. And they have generously given our listeners a whopping 25% off, I should say. The discount code is BFB25. And where do they shop, Meso?
Yes, at www.cinchskin.com. Yep, you'll get amongst it. We love you, Cinch. Thanks for coming on board.
And we've also got
Gut Performance, which you use every single day. It's a prebiotic, and they've given us a discount code as well. It's BFB15 when you go to www.gutperformance.com. I'll just quickly .au. I'll just roll over and tell you the benefits. So peak performance when you're using Gut Performance can help with regularity, bloating, energy, skin, mood, immune system, digestion, and absorption of nutrients and inflammation levels. I've been using it, love it every single day. Will not go a day without it. So thank you, Gut Performance. We love you.
Thank you.
Phone fucking with the pH. So we don't give a F with the call or text. Phone fucking with the pH. Give it a ring. Check it, roll the deck.
Yeah, I mean, we've all done the, sending a text or a call to someone you're interested in, and they're very quickly not interested in you. I don't have like a specific anecdotal example. I've got, no, I don't know. I've got a funny one my friend did, but that's not me.
That'll do. We'll take that.
Yeah, look,
throw your friend on the bus.
Yeah, look, no names, but he's he follows politics quite closely, and one day he'd come home after pushing the boat out a little bit, and jumped on Facebook and just started getting involved in a number of debates and stoushes about politics, and just dropping grenades here and there, and just rubbing people the wrong way, and then went to bed, woke up to about 400 notifications on Facebook. And there was a moment where he couldn't remember having done it, and so he was like, what has happened to my Facebook? And then he started opening it up and seeing the debates he had fired up, and like they're all like, it was not nasty or, throwing slurs or barbs around or anything, but it's just saying like, particularly controversial opinions politically. And kind of backing certain politicians and agreeing with certain policies that, he was low-hanging fruit as far as how do you get into a fierce debate very quickly. It's like, we'll bring up this policy and, there's going to be some sparks flying. So, probably that. I can't, off the top of my head.
That's good that you can't do that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but I mean, that's because there's no shortage of kind of just standard, text and phone call to person I'm interested in, and managed to blow that up. Well done, Matt.
It's time for the recommendation of the week.
What do I'd recommend this week?
Besides Pash.
But obviously that's a given. Go out and do a jog. Go for a run. Go for a walk. If you're not quite feeling up for a run yet. I'm hoping today's sun is going to stick around for a few days. So combination of lovely weather, a bit of sun and a bit of exercise, that's going to make you feel good physically and mentally. So that's my recommendation. We're in deep winter. So if there's a moment of sun, embrace it. So go for a walk, go for a run in the sun.
Beautiful. That's a brilliant recommendation. Matt, we're wrapping it up. What a joy you've been today. Can you tell our listeners where we find you and what's coming up for Dr. Matt? Where can we see you? You're all over the TV as well.
So I mean, obviously Pash has been all dominating for the last few months. So certainly that's at the front and center. The book is still on sale. So people, if you're still interested in science and space, get around that. In terms of things coming up, I do have a few things in the works. I mean, I'm trying to push out much more science content through my socials. So if you're on socials, I've finally, pulled my finger out and started getting on TikTok. I've been avoiding that for no reason. I'm just being a bit of an idiot. But so TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. So pushing out lots of science questions. If you have science questions, slide into my DMs with your science questions. And I've got a couple of other things. I'm going to be hopefully involved a little bit with Science Week, which is, I think it's the first week or second week of August. So National Science Week, there'll be plenty going on. Make sure you get involved as much as you can, either yourself or your young ones. But there's a few other things in the works that I can't chat about as openly, but hopefully I can deliver more science and more fun stuff in the coming months.
And you have failed to mention, Matt, what dating apps you're on, please.
I'm on Hinge.
Okay.
And please. Don't report it is me, so don't report it and get me barred.
Do people report you?
Because I get messages from people saying, there's someone catfishing with you. It's me. Don't if you report me, I'll get blocked from the app. And
no.
Well, I've been banned.
Have you?
Yeah. There must be disgruntled customer out there, and they've reported me, and I'm officially banned. I'm like, what have I done?
Oh dear. Okay.
So I'm barred as well, so I'm no chance. Anyway, Matt, honestly, I know. Can you help me out? Just give your leg up, give me a little reference. You are happier, healthier, and more content. Your mental and physical health have gone through the roof. Your sobriety. Our listeners will absolutely froth over this episode. I know we absolutely have. And as we always say, your vulnerability will be helping more people than we'll ever know. So the ripple effect. We so appreciate your time today, Dr. Matt.
Thank you so much.
Spaceman. Thank you so much.
It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you later.
Cheers.
Bye.
This podcast is proudly produced by our audio engineer, music extraordinaire, Eric Labb.
We love you, Eric.